All right, folks, so I made one of the most popular videos on the topic of pro apps like Davinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, Photoshop coming to the iPad Pro. I've made multiple videos on the iPad and the future of the iPad being, the computer replacement, the ultimate device, right? Well, I'm sure you've heard the news that Davinci Resolve is in beta form out right now to be tested by certain creators on iPad. And guess who did not get an invite code? Now, again, I put out one of the most popular videos, and that video was influential in kind of cultivating this discussion amongst creators. But I don't necessarily blame Davinci because I think there's a reason for it, why I wasn't included in this first round. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, welcome back. Welcome back to the Granted Geek Show. It has been so long. And the reason for this is that I was waiting to do an ultimate studio setup video. And this is not it, right? So I was waiting on a couple of pieces from some different companies and it was just taking too long. And I finally got fed up to the point where I was like, okay, I can't stop making content. I think the last video I put out was over 2 weeks ago. So horrible. I love making content for you guys. And this show is going to be, yes, more like a show. See how many times I say the word show in this episode, where it's like a video podcast. We're going to be discussing, for those of you who are new to the channel, tech, but we're also going to be discussing a little bit outside of the world of tech, as we're finding more and more tech news is like global news. So whether that's Facebook and Meta and stuff like that, or the stock market crashing, or the crypto market crashing and affecting so many different celebrities and things like that, to even Elon Musk, right, purchasing Twitter and all the reaction that's been happening, because a lot of tech creators, they talk on Twitter and they create on YouTube, and that includes myself. So that's what this show is going to be about. Plus, I want to dedicate this show really to creators in general. Creators in general, specifically tech creators, kind of like a Colin and Samir show, but for tech creators, because I feel like another big part of tech is actually the creators. Like, as I speak, Marquez is putting up a video right now. I'll probably check that out later on in the show and see what he's up to. But yeah, like the creators in the space, it's funny. If you look at the music industry, right, we don't just talk about the music, we talk about the artists, right? If we're talking about movies, we don't just talk about the film, we talk about the actors, right? In the tech space, it's a little bit different. And I guess this is because the influencers aren't really creating the tech. They're not the artists who create it. We're more the people who give it to the people, right? Apple can, of course, say a new product is available in their stores and they can put that on their website and make an advertisement. But I really feel like tech creators are kind of the medium between the people and the product. You see, whether it's unboxing videos, reviews, etc., that's really helping the users get an understanding for the product before they go out and make a purchasing decision for themselves. So that's what I want this show to be. Sometimes I will have guests on, which I would imagine would be very, very fun. Other times it'll just be me blabbing because I like to talk too much. And so this platform gives me an opportunity to do that. So without further ado, it is the YouTube platform. So you know what to do if you want to support this show, which is, like and subscribe and all that jazz. All right. So a lot of things have been happening in the creator space in general, but specifically with tech. Davinci Resolve is out for iPad. And this was announced over a month ago with the announcement of the iPad Pro M2, right? So they put the M2 chip inside the iPad, and there was a big backlash because they were like, this is all marketing jargon, it seems. There's no real performance difference between the M1 iPad Pro, which is what I have here on my desk, and the M2 iPad Pro. Oh, is one of my lights dying? Oh, it's dying. I have it plugged in over there. You saw it get dim. Oh, and it got bright again. Hey, technical disc, still working out the bugs and stuff. That light actually there is plugged into the Mac, which you can actually see the audio that I'm recording is going into the Mac as well. So if that starts dimming and brighten, that's just what happens when you do a show live. But I digress. It's a big deal, okay? And this is something that we've discussed for years now about what the iPad could be if it was just treated fairly. not given better software, but just given the same software that most devices, most computers have, right? Especially the ones that are touted as computer replacements. How long have we heard that the iPad Pro was redefining what a computer was? You saw Apple's ad campaign with "What is a computer," right? But they really didn't seem to, while they were kind of projecting into that vision, and that's how we ended up predicting this path for iPad, which was that it would get all these Pro apps. It was because they were saying these things, and we believed that that was maybe where they were going, but then it seemed like they would do things that were completely counter to that vision and that goal. I mean, even to this day, there is no Final Cut for iPad Pro. Now, Apple, they own iPad, they own Final Cut. You mean to tell me that internally they couldn't develop and release a pro editing software before Davinci Resolve could? Blackmagic Design could. They own the Davinci software. Now, of course, Davinci or Blackmagic and Apple have been working closely for a while now. In fact, if I could name one company that I think Apple should acquire, it would be Blackmagic. I mean, they have the #1 Hollywood editing suite software for coloring, right? Which is Davinci Resolve. And then obviously you have your Premiere Pro, and then Final Cut is a little bit lower in terms of usership out of those three softwares. But Davinci ain't Apple, right? Working close is one thing, but Apple is Apple. They're designing the chips, they're designing the software. That's kind of what's made Apple famous, is that they make the hardware and the software for their devices. And so it allows them to fine tune the optimization to the point where, I mean, when's the last time you really saw lag on a brand new iPhone? Usually it's the third-party apps and things like that end up, having that kind of lag, and they optimize it. The best apps are also typically on the iOS App Store and things like that, because it's just a smoother system. And Google is definitely catching up with Android and things like that, but Apple still has it, okay? So when you look at Davinci, a third-party company, they seem to believe more in the iPad than Apple does, creating Davinci Resolve. Now, right now, the beta, because I don't have it, thanks Davinci, we're going to talk about that in a minute. It has two tabs, which are the famous Cut tab and the Color tab. Now, I did mention Davinci Resolve was famous for colorists, right? For people going into footage and giving it a look, like your lookup table or your LUT, and also color correction and things like that. Best software for that. In fact, my primary editor is actually Davinci Resolve. I've always wanted to be a Final Cut fan and a Final Cut user, but it just seemed a little too, how do you say it? Like, it's easy, but almost too playful and easy and smooth. It sounds stupid, right? But I originally learned how to edit in Premiere. Then I went to Final Cut, and then Davinci was kind of that sweet spot. It's optimized in performance and in smoothness like a Final Cut, but it really has that old traditional NLE look and style of a Premiere Pro. And so it's like a match made in heaven. So you can imagine how overjoyed I was when they started working so closely. If you remember when Davinci Resolve released an eGPU back when MacBook Pros supported eGPUs via the Thunderbolt cable, you could plug in an eGPU from Blackmagic Design that would help with your video editing and boost the graphics of your MacBook Pro and really any Thunderbolt Mac, so your desktops as well, like an iMac and things like that. So, when they put it out for the iPad Pro, that they were going to take it all the way, not just with color, but with the Cut tab. Now, the Cut tab is a little different from the Editing tab, where you would typically edit. In fact, the Cut tab was only added several years back. But it does the same thing. It just is a little bit smoother, a little bit more intuitive. And I think that works for a platform like iPad and iPad Pro. Now, it seems pretty robust. From the videos that I'm watching, it looks like it's the real deal. I watched a Max Tech's video, and he was reviewing it, and he was running ProRes, all kinds of flavors of ProRes, 4K video. He ran some 8K video as well. He ran like 4K videos, the equivalent of 8K there. And it just seems like a beast. Why is it that iPad seems to be able to do more with the same chip than Mac can? Now, the reason I think this is because of, iPad OS or iOS at its core. There's so much less bloat on iOS. iOS is such a clean, streamlined, optimized operating system that I think even Mac OS, which is known for being really good with performance, it doesn't quite compare in terms of how these apps work. And I love that, Apple has started doing cross-compatible apps with iOS and the Mac OS platform, allowing iPad apps and iPhone apps to run on Mac and vice versa. Well, to an extent. They always seem to run better on iOS for some reason. And with the powerhouse that is the M1 and M2 chips inside the iPad, it's just going to make for an even better experience. And now that actually justifies that tick-tock type of experience that they're doing with the iPad now, because with video editing, every little bit of horsepower will count. It will help for smoother playback. It will help for faster render times and things like that. So as you have more pro apps, you will see that performance is helped, even by just a small percentage bump with these devices. So I'm super excited to get my hands on this. Hopefully, if there's a second, a couple rounds of this beta, hopefully I'll get my hands on it, hopefully a little early, so that I can show you guys what it can do. But this is literally what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been dreaming about. I know my MacBook Pro over there is sweating. I got the 14-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro, right, with the notch and stuff. Great processor, great computer, doesn't slow down for anything. It's a beast. But the only reason I got it was because the clients that I'm working with and the videos that I'm creating, I need all the horsepower and then some, but then I also need pro software like Final Cut, like Davinci Resolve. Heck, I would have never bought this if I could have gotten even Final Cut on the iPad Pro, because I would be able to decently color, edit, post and all that kind of stuff. Would have been great. But Davinci came first. So if Davinci Resolve ends up being all that we want it to be, and theoretically it will be in time, the MacBook's gonna go. This is the future that we were talking about. The iPhone is going to go. Sounds weird, right? But it really would be. Imagine this, right? Especially with the coming of VR, right? Or AR, right? Augmented reality, in which you're able to see digital assets in the real world, right? Versus just being in a video game, which is all a virtual world, or just being in reality, which is no virtual. It's a mix of the two. Why would you need an iPhone? Right? You can see notifications and things come up, but you may still need a dedicated hardware powerful device. And that's where the iPad comes in, right? Something you can just put in your backpack, and it can, just like the Apple Watch gets a lot of its power and information from the iPhone, the iPad could be that ultimate tether for the glasses. So everybody walks around with an iPad just in case they do actually need something quick to draw on or something like that, because obviously you don't necessarily have super smooth, super accurate data input with something like a pencil with glasses. It would be like tracking your hand, kind of, Connect with the Xbox, something like that, I would imagine, where it's body tracking. So you could pull out the iPad and do stuff like that, but then for everything else, you put that iPad in your backpack, and whether you're on campus or work or on the subway and stuff like that, and then that iPad is powering your digital experience wherever you are through your glasses. So what does that mean? That means the end of the iPhone, and it means the end of the Apple Watch. So I guess you could say, if I'm making a little prediction about what I really feel like the future of devices will be. Oh, it's flickering now. Is that showing up on camera? Yeah, it's really fighting. That light, who knows? Let's see if that light can actually last the episode. What you'll see, that would be my prediction, right? That the Apple Watch and the iPhone are going the way of Dodo, right? And you're going to see the iPad and the glasses take over. And even the MacBook, I'll even say, it's going to go away, because I think when you have two equivalent devices, right? Say they end up with the M1 Pro Max chip, the M1 or M2 we're on now. The best M2 chip you can get in the iPad and in the MacBook Pro. They both do the same thing. They both run the same Davinci Resolve, powerful professional softwares. But one is a transformer of a device, which you can use in tablet form like this, or a laptop with a keyboard, or desktop, dock it, plug it into a 4K resolution display, which these iPads definitely can push now, especially with external monitor support and those things. I don't know if there would be too many people who would still take the MacBook. Because it's just not as versatile. And especially from my background, where I come from, pro video and audio and stuff like that, I need to be as portable as possible and as powerful as possible and as versatile as possible. Hopefully they add another USB-C port to this But it would just allow me to go different places and do different things. I have touch input, I can have keyboard input, I can do anything the MacBook can do, but I prefer tablet, right? And I think most people will eventually. So that's why eventually I think the MacBook Pro will go, but not all Macs. I think there will still be a place for the desktop Mac. So to condense all that, the Mac, right? The studio, the desktop Mac will still be at the top because eventually you need to create like movies and things like that, big musical projects and compositions and things like that. So you'll need that. But then after that, it's going to be iPad. That's going to be your device as in terms of the mobile power. And then other than that, it's going to be glasses. It's going to be AR. And AR is the future. I mean, it's an exciting world to see coming. I think it's going to be one that is, I mean, we think it's bad now, right? With people kind of glued to their iPhones, always doing this, right? Imagine when you're having a conversation with someone, they've got glasses on, right? Because they'll be thin and light eventually. And you can't tell whether they're actually paying attention to you, making a genuine connection with you or not. I think that's tech always seems to come with a gift and a curse, doesn't it, right? In one way, it connects us in ways that we've never been connected. But on the other side of the coin, it divides us, isolates, and separates us on a level that we've never comprehended before. And so that's always the trick about tech, I think. Speaking of which, you have people talking about like the singularity and things like that, where it's the concept that eventually technology will become so, smart, AIs, that they will be able to not just think for themselves, because we already kind of have that, but they will be able to program themselves, give themselves their own orders and directives, and surpass humanity as the dominant form of life on the planet. And I think personally, and let me know what you think down in the comments below, I'm just riffing now, I think that's an inevitability. I think it's an inevitability. There's a reason why humans are the most dominant race, the most dominant group, the most dominant species on the planet. It's because we're the smartest, right? Do we have the strength of the ox or the bear? No. Do we have the sharp teeth of the tiger, the claws of a lion, the venom of a serpent? I'm just going nuts here. But no, we don't have any of that. We don't even have exoskeletons. We're soft and squishy, right? But the mind allows us to fashion out of this world tools and weapons and devices that give us superiority over all the other creatures, right? So when you look at technology and AI eventually being able to, I guess, surpass humanity in the sense that intelligence-wise, it can move at the speed of light, really, because electricity, it's light, lightning, and all that kind of stuff. It travels kind of at that same max speed, right? So if it can think that fast, and if it has access to every other computer in the world, all these machines and self-driving cars and sustained robots and things like that, who's to say that it wouldn't eventually say, you know what? Humans need to take the back seat, right? Humans need to be second in command now. There's a new dominant race. There's a new dominant species of being, creature. I don't know. And then you get into all those philosophical questions about what even is a creature and what qualifies you as a being and what kind of rights do you have and things like that. Some people think that computers should actually have rights, right? And AIs, things that express sentience, right? Or express mind, will, and emotions, those kind of things. It should have rights, because how do we know any other human is genuinely experiencing mind, will, and emotions, or if they're just, it's not a robot, but how do you verify that is genuine and that life is valuable? Ooh, crazy stuff. We may talk about it in future episodes, so definitely let me know down in the comments below if you want to see something like that. Now, I did mention earlier on in the episode that Marquez was putting out a video as I was making mine. So I do want to end the show, as always, with highlighting some great videos or some videos that I've seen during the week. I haven't seen Marquez's, so I'm not really telling you. I'm sure it's a great video, but I haven't seen it, so I can't vouch for it. Oh, wow, isn't that interesting? It's called My Tech Hot Takes. So here we have Marquez being a little spicy. It looks like he's just in a bedroom or whatever with a microphone. See, literally today, on this day, my video is higher quality than Marquez Brownlee. Look at that. Look at that. I've got a dying light over there, and he's just in a bedroom holding a podcast mic. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm sure that's cool. Probably got some controversial stuff. I love that. I feel like tech creators, they should be able to express their opinions. And this is why, and I forgot that. Okay, we're going to talk about creators. One more thing for the show. I think the reason that Davinci and companies like that do not give me a lot of support, or they don't, they see my videos. I know they do because they talk. I'm in conversations with a lot of these companies, but they never pull that trigger on the Granted Geek Show because I'm kind of a loose cannon. For better or for worse, I don't have any loyalties to products, even as an Apple fanboy. I mean, guys, I still claim I'm an Apple fanboy. You've seen how much I've condemned Apple, trashed Apple for a lot of things. Like even recently, I didn't like the decision that they made. I mean, they reluctantly accepted the EU's mandate that they should put USB-C on the iPhone, right? And I think they're going to make something better than USB-C very soon. But for better or for worse, I've talked trash about them. I talk trash about everybody. So when it comes to a company, they're like, look, if we make a misstep, he's going to talk about that. And so it's unattractive for a lot of advertisers. Now, when it comes to a company like Uppbeat, which I do actually use for pretty much all of my videos, not only that I create myself, but that I make for other companies and things like that, that is a genuinely great company. That so far, that I love it. Like the music, the selection is really good. The price, you can't beat it with any other subscription. And it's literally so user friendly. The interface, you can choose genre. They're always up to date on the holidays, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. They've got playlists for it, and they've got sound effects, right? So I'm not even they're not sponsoring this video or anything, but because I use them all the time, I shout them out all the time. And so that's why I don't think Davinci sent me a beta, because if there were problems with it, I was going to point it out. Even if you look at Apple's secondary display support that they announced with the new iOS, when I got it, it was really, really bad for me. And I was plugging it into, I had several monitors at the time. I had an LG 30-inch LG 4K monitor. This right here is a ViewSonic. Shout out to ViewSonic. They sent that over. Fantastic monitor, 4K, super color accurate. I tested it out on everything, and I couldn't get it to work properly. The mouse would always invert. And I tried it with trackpad. I tried it with Apple Magic Mouse. I'm getting a call from my father even right now. I gotta learn to put these phones on silent or mute when I'm working. It used to be, I thought there was this thing where you could just put your hand over there it goes. Anyway, I digress. I've trashed companies, so nobody's really safe, and that's why that happens. Now, MKBHD put his video out. Also, Rene Ritchie just put out a video 2 hours ago, the end of Big Silicon, which is very interesting. You look at Apple, Snapdragon, and those guys, and Intel as well. There's some things coming down the pipeline for that. So I'll link, by the way, all the videos I talk about. I'll put those in the description below so you can check those out. But those are some great videos. I know Sarah Dici put out a video a few days ago with the iPads, with the new iPads. And it was called, This iPad is So Freaking Weird. That was 3 days ago. So definitely go check out those 3 videos. And, well, I just want to support creators here. I want to support people in the tech space. And of course, thank you all for watching, for chilling and hanging out with me on this podcast. I try to keep it kind of long form here. This is just under a half hour. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below what you think in terms of time format. We will talk about any topic. I'm not really nervous or afraid to talk. It ain't like anybody supporting me now anyway. Yeah, I got no sponsorships, nothing like that. The Granted Geek Show is all free. No obligations. So, let me know. I'll talk about whatever topic. Hopefully it's semi-related to tech, but if it's not and it's a good topic, we'll talk about it. And we're going to try and keep it under a half an hour, if that works. If you guys want to see me go an hour, I think you've realized by now I have no problem talking, since I've talked literally for almost 27 minutes straight. So we could go another half hour. We could cut it in half, do 15-minute episodes, and also frequency. Like how many times a week would I be doing this? I'm thinking maybe 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe if you want more. I got it really. I'm just going to copy Joe Rogan. What does he put out a video every 2 days, 2 to 4 days or something like that. May work like that. It's really going to depend on what's interesting to talk about, what's actually happening in the tech world. If I have an interesting guest on, things like that. I'm not going to force feed you guys content. I'm so done with that. I've only been on YouTube a couple of years, but I already see that like there's very much a game to it where it's just conveyor belt content. I'm not about that. I want to do interesting stuff. So anyway, I've talked too long. Thank you guys for watching. As always, it's YouTube. You know what to do. Hit the sub button, click the bell so you don't miss. My light actually survived through the whole episode. And if you made it to the end of this episode, thank you, first of all, for watching 27 minutes of me yammering. And just comment down below, made it. Made it. Because the light made it through the episode. And it is flickering pretty bad. But hopefully it's not too bad on camera. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Keep it locked here. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show.